Look at a newborn baby. In the modern world, what should they be afraid of? Speeding cars, high-voltage electrical sockets, loaded weapons, toxic chemicals, processed foods. These are the things most likely to end their life today. We have built a world surrounded by man-made machines and synthetic chemicals capable of destroying us in a fraction of a second. But show that same baby a speeding car, and they will just stare at it completely unafraid. Show them a loaded weapon, and they might reach out to touch the shiny metal. Show them a sparking wire, and they will be curious, not terrified. But show them a tiny, completely harmless house spider, or the slithering, silent shape of a snake, and their physiology changes instantly. Their heart rate spikes. Their breathing becomes shallow. Their eyes widen. They will instinctively pull away in absolute terror. Why? The spider has never hurt them. The snake has never bitten them. They have barely been on this earth for a few months. No one has ever sat them down, opened a book, and taught them to be afraid of these specific creatures. The truth is terrifying. This fear does not belong to them. It is an inherited nightmare, an ancient survival bias, forged in blood, and shaped by millions of years of evolution. You think your mind is your own. You think your fears are rational, based on your own unique life experiences. But right now, ancient ancestors, people who have been dead for 50,000 years, are controlling exactly how you see the world. Today, you live in the safest time in the history of our species. You sleep behind steel locks, inside reinforced concrete walls, completely removed from the brutal reality of the food chain. When you walk outside your front door, you are the apex predator. Nothing on this planet actively hunts you. But for 99.9% of human history, that was not the reality. For hundreds of thousands of years, we were not the hunters. We were the hunted. Imagine, for a moment, being an early hominid on the ancient African savanna. Look at your body. You don't have razor-sharp claws to defend yourself. You don't have venom to inject into your enemies. You don't have thick, armored scales to protect your organs. And compared to a cheetah, a leopard, or a wolf, you are unbelievably slow. You are a walking, defenseless, fleshy meal. And the world was full of monsters specifically designed to eat you. There was the Dinophelinae, terrifying, saber-toothed cat that paleoanthropologists believe specialized in hunting primates. It hunted at night, waiting in the trees to drop onto our ancestors. There were giant cave hyenas, massive short-faced bears, and even giant birds of prey like the Haast's eagle, which had talons large enough to carry away human children. In the ancient world, simply stepping outside your cave to get water was a massive gamble with death. But here is the fascinating part about human psychology. We are not inherently, genetically born afraid of lions, wolves, or bears. If you see a bear from a distance, your brain has time to process the threat. You can formulate a plan. You can run. You can climb a tree. You can shout to intimidate it. Large mammalian predators announce their presence. You can hear a bear snapping branches. You can hear a lion roaring. But snakes and spiders are a completely different evolutionary problem. They don't roar. They don't chase you across the savanna for miles. They hide. They are the ultimate masters of camouflage. They blend perfectly into the dead leaves, the sand, and the dark corners of the rocks. And by the time you see them, it is already too late. They are already inches away from your skin. In a world without antivenom, hospitals, or modern medicine, one single bite meant agonizing, inevitable death. In this brutal ancient world, there was absolutely no time to think. No time to analyze. No time for logic. Imagine two early humans walking through the dense jungle. They both see a dark, curved object resting in the tall grass ahead of them. Human A is a rational, logical thinker. He stops, squints his eyes, leans in slightly, and wonders, is that just a curved stick? Or is that a venomous viper? He waits for his brain to process the visual information. But before he can figure it out, the viper strikes. Human A dies. His genes are erased from the evolutionary tree forever. Human B is deeply paranoid. The exact microsecond his eyes register that curved shape, he doesn't think. He doesn't analyze. He leaps backward in absolute, uncontrollable terror. His heart pounds, he drops his food, and he screams. A second later, he looks down and realizes it was just a stick. He looks incredibly foolish. His tribe might even laugh at him. But human B survives. He lives to see another day. He lives long enough to reproduce. And he passes that exact same paranoid, hypersensitive alarm system down to his children. And they passed it down to theirs. All the way down the unbroken chain of history, right to you. In evolutionary psychology, this concept is known as the error management theory, or the principle of cost asymmetry. The evolutionary math is brutally simple. The cost of a false alarm jumping out of your skin because you saw a curved stick or a garden hose is practically zero. It costs you a few calories of energy and a moment of embarrassment. But the cost of a missed alarm ignoring a real snake because you assumed it was a stick is death. Evolution does not care if you feel anxious. Evolution does not care if you feel foolish or stressed. Evolution only cares about one thing: keeping you alive long enough to pass on your DNA. Therefore, nature designed your brain to be highly irrationally paranoid, because paranoid ancestors survived. Relaxed, logical ancestors became dinner. To ensure you never made the fatal mistake of hesitating, evolution had to build a biological shortcut in your brain. A hardwired override system. Deep inside the temporal lobe of your brain is a tiny, almond-shaped structure called the amygdala. This is your primal alarm bell, your inner caveman. It is millions of years older than the prefrontal cortex, the massive, wrinkled front part of your brain that solves complex math problems, understands philosophy, and pays taxes. When you walk through a park today and see a dark, curved object on the grass, your eyes capture the light and send that visual data to your brain's central processing relay, the thalamus. In a normal, non-threatening situation, the thalamus sends this image up to your visual cortex. The visual cortex is highly accurate. It analyzes the colors, the textures, and the context, and tells you exactly what you are looking at. But the visual cortex is slow. It takes precious milliseconds. Time you do not have when a snake is coiled to strike. So, your brain takes an emergency shortcut. Neuroscientists call this the low road. The thalamus sends a rough, blurry, low-resolution copy of the image straight directly to the amygdala. Before your conscious, logical mind even realizes what you are looking at, your amygdala screams, "Snake!" Instantly, the amygdala completely hijacks your entire nervous system, completely bypasses your logical thought. It signals your adrenal glands to dump massive amounts of adrenaline and cortisol into your bloodstream. Your heart rate instantly doubles, pumping highly oxygenated blood to your major muscle groups so you can run or fight. Your breathing becomes shallow and rapid. Your pupils dilate to let in maximum light, improving your peripheral vision. Your digestive system completely shuts down to divert all available energy to your legs. You jump back in absolute visceral panic. A full second later, the slow, logical part of your brain finally finishes its analysis. The visual cortex catches up. You look down, your vision clears, and you realize it is just a piece of rope. It is just a garden hose. Your heart is still pounding out of your chest, but you laugh it off. You feel silly, but you shouldn't. That false alarm is the greatest, most highly tuned survival mechanism nature ever engineered. It operated exactly as it was designed to, kept you alive. If you think this is merely a theory, scientists have actually proven it in a laboratory setting. In one of the most famous and groundbreaking series of primate experiments, conducted by psychologist Susan Manica, researchers wanted to answer a massive question. Is our fear of snakes and spiders learned from our parents, or is it an evolutionary preparation? They studied macaque monkeys that had been raised entirely in captivity. These monkeys had never been to the jungle. They had never seen a predator. They had never felt the pain of a venomous bite. They had lived their entire lives in absolute safety, hand-fed by humans. When researchers placed a highly realistic, moving toy snake inside their enclosure, the captive monkeys were not afraid. They were completely indifferent. They were curious. Some even reached out and tried to play with the snake. It seemed like a massive victory for the theory that all fears are learned. If you aren't taught to fear something, you won't fear it. Right? Wrong. The researchers then brought in a television screen. They showed the captive monkey a quick video clip of a wild monkey reacting in absolute terror to a snake. Just one short video. Just a few seconds of footage showing another monkey screaming and running away from a reptile. The results were staggering. The very next time the researchers placed the toy snake in the cage, the captive monkey went into absolute, uncontrollable panic. It screamed, hid in the corner, and showed extreme physiological stress. The experiment suggested that the monkeys were especially prepared to learn fear of snakes. Evolution prepared our nervous system to quickly associate these specific threats with danger, just waiting for a single trigger from their environment to wake it up. But here is the most mind-blowing part of the entire experiment. The part that proves this is about ancient survival, not just copying behavior. The researchers tried to trick the monkeys. They manipulated the video. They showed the captive monkeys footage of a wild monkey reacting in extreme, screaming terror to a flower, and then to a rabbit. But when the captive monkeys were shown the video of another monkey terrified of a flower, they didn't care. They did not develop a fear of flowers. They did not develop a fear of rabbits. Their brains completely refused to learn the fake fear. The experiment suggested that the monkeys were especially prepared to learn fear of snakes, but not of neutral objects like flowers. Why? Because over millions of years of primate evolution, flowers and rabbits never killed their ancestors. Snakes did. Psychologist Martin Seligman called this concept prepared learning. Our brains are not blank slates. We are evolutionarily prepared to easily associate fear with things that threatened our ancestors, while completely ignoring things that did not. And we are exactly the same. Our brains evolved to become especially ready to learn these fears. We just need the world to click activate. But this ancient software comes with a heavy price in the modern world. We have built a world of concrete, steel, and glass. We have conquered the terrifying darkness with artificial electricity. We have pushed the wilderness and the predators so far away that most of us will never, ever encounter a deadly wild animal in our entire lives. Our physical environment has evolved at lightning speed. We went from huddling in cold caves to flying in airplanes at 30,000 feet in the blink of an evolutionary eye. But biological evolution is agonizingly slow. It takes hundreds of thousands of years to change the structure of the human brain. There simply has not been enough time for our biology to catch up to our technology. There has not been enough time for our amygdala to realize that the war is over, that we won. This evolutionary lag is the root cause of so much modern anxiety. You are operating a highly sensitive 50,000-year-old threat detection system in a 2026 world. When your boss sends you an angry email, or when you think about your mortgage payments, your ancient brain doesn't know the difference between a social threat and a physical one. It reacts the exact same way it did when it saw a lion in the grass. It floods your body with cortisol. It triggers the fight or flight response. You sit at your desk, perfectly safe, yet your body prepares for a life or death physical battle that will never happen. We are constantly overwhelmed, constantly anxious, because our biological alarm system cannot be turned off. It is scanning the horizon for predators that no longer exist. Your mind is a time capsule, a living, breathing museum of human history. When you feel that sudden spike of dread at the sight of a spider in the corner of your room, or when you hear a strange rustling in the dark and your heart skips a beat, it is not a glitch in your psychology. It is not a weakness. It is not an irrational phobia. It is the voices of 1,000 generations of your ancestors, reaching across the millennia, whispering in your ear. Every instinct you call irrational today may have been the very reason your family survived yesterday. The snake you fear today may be the reason your ancestors became your ancestors. If human evolution shapes the way you think, fear, and behave, subscribe to Anthrova. Because we've only uncovered one instinct. There are hundreds more hidden inside your mind.